Hello everyone, and welcome to my new series, SIGCruiser Solo Cruise Chat. Today I'm speaking with SoloCruiser Rokeya, also known as MsQueenRo. Take a listen.
So I am Cheryl Cooper, SIGCruiser, the solo introvert and gluten-free cruiser, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Miss Rokeya, also known as MsQueenRo, solo
Hi.
cruiser. So I wanted to start off, what I wanted to do is a series of interviews with other solo cruisers just to get their experience. So not to only have my own experience, but others as well, because there are so many solo cruisers out there, so many that I'm meeting. So I wanted to share their experience as well. So I wanted to start the interview, Rokeya, by asking well, if you can let us know who you are and what you do.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Rokeya, also known as MsQueenRo, as Cheryl said. I am the business owner and CEO of Royal Consulting, as you can see in the background over here. I am a brand strategist where I help and support and advise entrepreneurs and corporate career professionals with their brand, whether it be social media, because I am social media specialist as well, corporate coaching or career coaching, and business consulting. So if you need any type of help, you can follow me on Instagram. It's probably the best way to do it, at Royal Consulting Biz. And I am just excited because really before I even launched my business, I was traveling since I don't know what.
Okay.
And since at a young age, and recently, I would say recently, it's been a few years now, I started solo traveling. And this is how me and Cheryl became together, because I went on my first solo cruise
Mhm.
in 2019, and it was experience. I've actually been international solo traveling for a few years prior to that. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it big. I'm gonna go all out, and I went on my first solo cruise with Norwegian. I think it was a Caribbean cruise, the Norwegian Escape, one of the largest of their
Right.
fleet, and 2019, and it was perfect because then the pandemic hit.
Right. Right.
so so then all cruises stopped. So I was actually really excited that I went on there before 2020.
Okay,
Mhm.
and let me say, since you mentioned it, yes, that's how I found out about you. I was solo cruising already. I think I started in 2016, and when I saw your vlog about solo cruising, that's what made me want to start vlogging. So I know we've
Mhm.
like chatted back and forth through what Instagram and
Mhm.
YouTube, and this is our first time speaking. So this is I'm just so excited about that. Even though we talked in the past about doing trips together, hopefully that will come.
It will.
But okay, so how did you get into solo cruising? What made you want to do it?
Well, like I said, I've been solo traveling for many years, and I had only been on one cruise. No, I take that back. One or two cruises prior to the solo cruise I did in 2019, and I always liked cruising, but I had always with a group. The last cruise that I went on, it was a Carnival cruise. It was a bridal week. One of my friends was getting married, and this was her post wedding moon
Hmm.
celebration with a bunch of girls, and we went. And let me just say, it was not the most pleasant trip.
Okay. Okay.
Carnival was fine. I mean, the cruise was nice and everything,
Hmm.
but just being with a bunch of girls and women, and you know how that can kind of be.
Yes.
And because I'm already an introvert anyway, so it's already hard for me to uh, be social, and unless I really know who you are and who I've been and who I've hung out with you.
Hmm.
So my group of friends that on that cruise was fine. Me and the people, the women that I knew, we were great. We've been
Hmm.
friends for many years. But the people that she brought along, it was not.
Okay.
It didn't make it a pleasant cruise. So when I got back to the States, I said, you know what? There's got to be something different. And I don't want to make it seem like every time that I go on a cruise that it just seems like it's not a still good experience, because I love traveling. I love cruising. I
Hmm.
think I'm going to try something different. So I think that was, I don't remember what year it was, maybe 2016 or 17 or something like that. We went on that cruise. Um, Took me a little while, but then finally I got up the nerve to say, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go
Okay.
on a cruise by myself. I
Okay.
had already been traveling
Okay.
solo alone. I was like, I'm gonna do it. At first, I had, just like anyone is really nervous, like, who am I
Mhm.
going to talk to? Am I going to be bored because I don't have anybody to talk to? And oh, am I going to be able to afford it? Because I know there's
Mhm.
fees along with cruising solo.
Mhm.
And it wound up working all well. I had saved up money for it, and I was just like, let me just go. And then I booked my cruise in December. Well, I think it was October 2019. Then I went in December of 2019.
Mhm.
It was one of the best things ever.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you hit on, of course, SIGCruiser solo introvert cruiser, you're an introvert as well.
Mhm.
So how was that on your first solo cruise, being an introvert? How did you interact with others? Did you walk up and talk to others? Did they come up to speak to you, to talk to you? I get a lot of questions about that. So what was your experience?
I think everyone's experience is going to be different. Although I am an introvert, I guess I am a approachable introvert. So I didn't have to approach anybody. They came to me. Every day I met someone new. I don't know if it's because the way I carried myself or I just looked, I walked around with a smile, but I had everyone from the wait staff to people that was on the cruise cruising. I had a couple that we became friends. They were
Okay.
on their
I
cruise
remember that.
and
Yes. Mhm.
yep. And all this is in my vlog on YouTube. So if you
Mhm.
want to check that out, it's MsQueenRo for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I met a couple and they were just very friendly and we hung out one day in I think it was the Mexico when we stopped in Mexico,
Uh-huh.
and then after that excursion was over, they were like, "Hey, do you want to hang out again?" I was like, "Okay, sure." So we went out the next day. We went to Honduras. So yeah, it's not that hard to if you're one to where if you're okay with social interaction,
Mhm.
then pretty much everybody's so happy. There's and especially now because after the pandemic, people are ready to
Right.
cruise again. You're
Mhm.
not going to have a problem finding anybody to talk to. So if you're okay with being a little social, somebody will come up to you and or it is easy to go up to them because everybody wants to talk and just have a good merry old time. So
Mhm.
it's not hard. But if you are one to just where you really want to keep to yourself and you're not here for that, you're not cruising for that to be any of that social interaction, that's the whole reason why you came solo, then you can do that too. There are times and places on the cruise to where you can just go and be alone, right? And I
Mhm.
had those moments as well. Every time I cruise, I go on a spa. I have my spa moment. So I have that. There's decks on the cruise. You can go and be alone. There's a
Mhm.
library. It's a whole bunch of things. So you can get the best of both worlds if you choose to do so. So however you feel comfortable.
Now I want to get into some of your cruises. So, can you tell me what's your fondest solo cruising memory, or even fondest solo travel memory?
Okay. Yeah, because I'm not big time like you, Cheryl. I've only been on one solo cruise. So the solo cruise, like I said, it was on the Norwegian Escape, and it was a Caribbean. I think it was Southern Caribbean cruise, but we visited Mexico, Honduras, and I think it was a couple of cities in Mexico.
Mhm.
And so that was nice. It was a 7-day cruise. So my first one was excellent. Wholeheartedly, I'm booking another one.
Mhm.
So as far as solo traveling, I will have to say I've done that many times. My favorite international solo trip that I took, it was actually my very first, and maybe because of my first, I don't know, but
Mhm.
just the area was perfect. Barcelona, Spain was my favorite.
Oh.
I it was my first, so yes, I was very nervous on that because I'm taking a flight from Charlotte to straight to well, we had a New York layover straight to Barcelona. I do know some Spanish, so the language
Okay.
wasn't barrier wasn't that bad, but I'm not fluent in it. So
Okay.
I was nervous and going to like I'm going to a country where I'm not fluent in the language, and you always think about crime and things like that,
Right. Yeah.
but do your research. Right,
Mhm.
right. Do your research on the hotel that you want to stay in, the area, the tourist spots, all of that, because I knew I'm not going to go in. What's the point of going to a
Mhm.
place and you stay in your hotel room the whole time?
Right.
So I did my research on where I was staying, the proximity of where all the tourist spots were. So I made sure to stay in the area to where it was walking distance to everything, where either I wanted to shop or I wanted to go to the water, because where Barcelona is located, you have the mountains, you have flatlands, and you have the beach and the sea all in miles within each other. You can get there with a bus or anything. That was my favorite. And after like the first day or two, my nerves was great because everybody was so nice and very welcoming. So I was like free. I do suggest solo traveling. You actually do want to do your research, but then be smart, have common sense, right? So I even when I solo travel now, not so much cruising, but when I go to a new country or in other states too, even domestically, I make it a point to where when it starts getting dark, I'm pretty close to in my hotel room. If I'm not in my hotel room, I'm like in a spot to where I'm really close and I'm not traveling. I mean, I'm not walking outside at night after dark. So I did make it a rule on that aspect.
Okay. All right. So I am just curious, do you have any solo cruising or solo travel horror stories?
I have probably fun horror stories, if anything. So I was just talking about my trip to Barcelona, Spain. And it's funny because before I really got into vlogging, I kind of vlogged a little bit on that trip. I remember when I was just kind of going to find footage, I remember something that happened. So remember I told you about watching your surroundings, being safe, and doing your research prior to this. This includes doing your research before you step out into the area that you're trying to get to, because make sure if you have, because when you're in a foreign area from America, you have your roaming off on your phone because you don't want to accrue those foreign charges, roaming charges. So I had to do as much research as I can while I was in the hotel while I had Wi-Fi. For something I did, something, I don't know. So I forgot a step or forgot to map out a place to go. So I got a little lost. And yeah, so speaking of not staying out at dark, it had to be at 10 o'clock or so their time. So homegirl was a little scared. Yeah, so I was thankfully I wasn't in a remote area. It was still pretty busy, but I couldn't get back to my hotel because I made a wrong turn or something like that. And then I trying to get back, trying to look at my phone, trying to figure out where I can go. I almost got hit by a bus.
A bus?
Yes, the bus was coming down the road, and it's not the bus's fault. It was all my fault. It wasn't this pedestrian didn't have the right of way. So I'm walking. So I'm walking, looking at my phone. This is why you shouldn't text and walk at the same time. And I walked into the street, not realizing what I was doing, and the bus swerved to miss me. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, Lord. Not only am I lost, I'm about to get hit by a bus. Why, God, why? So finally, and then you have the language barrier too. So I would probably have to say this was a funny / yes, definitely horror story because it was very scary at the moment. But somehow or another, I'm pretty good at directions. So I paid attention to landmarks. So once I knew the landmark where I was, then I figured out where I was and I was able to get back. But
okay. Oh my.
needless to say, that was my first and only time that happened. Ever since then, another reason why, again, I don't go out close to dark. I've been to other countries and it never happened again. So that was it.
I'm sure one time was all it took.
Yes.
Now you, as a solo traveler, solo cruiser, I'm sure, you get from other people who want to solo travel and cruise, questions about, the cost and paying double. Now, do you have any tips for people who want to start off solo cruising on, ways to save or ways to pay, ways to make it less expensive?
So it's going to depend where you go, first off, and how often you travel. If you're one who travels a lot, like myself and like you, Cheryl, I would suggest finding a site or finding a way to accrue points. So for me, I have credit card points. I have points that I accrue because I do use a third party for the most part. I do like Expedia. I've been using Expedia for many years. So I hope you can get an affiliate with this. Give me Expedia a shout out, Cheryl. So yeah, I've been using Expedia for years. So I have points that I've used. So for me personally, or those who travel a lot, if you are not strategic in accruing points, I would highly suggest doing that, especially if you are just getting started. Then set up an account to where you can accrue the points. That helps in one aspect. Another aspect is you're going to have to budget, especially when it comes to solo cruising, because most cruise lines, unfortunately, you're going to have to pay for double occupancy in the room. Cruises expect for it to be a 2-person or more experience. They make money that way. So for me, I care about the room and I care about where I'm staying on the cruise. So I don't mind paying extra. So I budget for that. I save for that so that I can get the bigger room, which is a balcony or a room that usually a family or another person would stay in. If you're one to where you don't really care about the room, it's like, I just want to come there and sleep and shower, and that's pretty much it. For me, again, because I'm an introvert, I need that time alone, that time to wind down. So I've never gotten anything lower than an ocean view room. However, if you're not that person, if you don't mind having a smaller room, then an inside cabin is always going to be less expensive. Norwegian, and then they have a place for solo cruisers to habitate in a small room. So you don't have to pay that double occupancy fee. You can save that way to do that. So again, if you don't get anything out of this video, anybody that's watching, research. Don't just say, I'm going to book something and that's it. Do your research prior, because you can save a lot of ways that way just by going on, looking at the cabins, looking how big they are, and looking around excursions. Speaking of excursions, right?
Not so fast. We can't give you all the tips at once. Stay tuned for part 2 of Solo Cruise Chat with Rokeya, also known as MsQueenRo. In the meantime, like and subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so that you'll know when we upload part 2. Are you a solo cruiser? Want to share your cruise story? Drop me a message in my Instagram, @SIGCruiser on Instagram. Stay tuned for part 2.